What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review, and this time we're taking a look at Pitch Black, starring Vin Diesel. Let's waste no time. Let's get right into it. I like Pitch Black. I remember watching this movie 22 years ago when it first came out in theaters. I enjoyed it then, and I enjoy it now. Pitch Black ain't the greatest science fiction movie you're ever going to see, but it is damn sure not a bad science fiction movie. This is a very decent and very enjoyable science fiction horror film, backed by a really good performance by Vin Diesel. This movie also has a very good blend of both Alien and Predator, and it actually has a kind of unique and cool story. These passengers crash land on a deserted planet. They're stranded. They have to look for ways to survive. They find out that these deadly creatures inhabit said planet, and that these creatures hunt during the night. Of course, the crew has a passenger with them by the name of Riddick, who has done something to his eyes that can enable him to see in the dark. So now all of these survivors pretty much have to turn to Riddick to pretty much guide them through the darkness and make sure they all stay in the light so that way they don't get killed. Yeah, that is the overall story of Pitch Black. How does this movie executed? I think this movie's executed fairly well. Vin Diesel as Richard B. Riddick, he is fantastic. I think Vin Diesel is really good in this movie. I ain't the world's biggest Vin Diesel fan, but in this film, I thought he was actually really, really good. He does a very good job at playing Riddick as this very mysterious, brooding, foreboding character. He gives him a very intimidating presence. Riddick has a very unique look to him, especially with his eyes. But he also has a really, very, just, dark sense of humor to him as well. Like Vin Diesel, this movie to me is how you utilize Vin Diesel's talents in a good way. And I ain't the world's biggest Vin Diesel fan. I don't think he's all that great as an actor. I think he's one of those actors where you have to utilize him correctly in order to get a good performance out of him. And I think Pitch Black is one of those movies where you can get a good performance out of Vin Diesel by not giving him too much dialogue and only have him say stuff when absolutely necessary, but keep him foreboding and keep him mysterious. So, which is what the character of Riddick is. He's foreboding, he's mysterious, he could be intimidating, he could be deadly. Again, he's an escaped murdering convict. And Vin Diesel played the role perfectly. No complaints with Vin Diesel whatsoever. The supporting cast in this movie I thought was really solid. You got Cole Hauser, who plays Johns, who is a bounty hunter masquerading as a cop. He and Riddick have a rivalry going on since the Johns' character is after Diesel, the one who captured him. Their rivalry is really good, and Cole Hauser does a really good job of playing a duplicitous character who is trying to convince everyone that he's something that he's not. And he's also a morphine addict because in an encounter that he had with Riddick, he suffered a really, really bad injury. And I like Cole Hauser's performance in this movie. He comes across as a good dick who you just love to hate. The actors who played Fry, who becomes the captain after the original captain dies during the crash landing. The character of Fry I thought was pretty cool. The actress did a really good job at playing her. At first you don't like Fry because she was willing to sacrifice the entire crew in order to save her own hide. But as the movie progresses, we come to learn that she would actually die for her crew when the back's against the wall, which is what happens once these deadly alien creatures start to attack them. And she does have a hero, but I just didn't care for her death. I thought it was way too. I thought killing the character of Fry just came out of absolutely nowhere, though. Like, she goes to save Riddick after he's being attacked, and then she just dies unceremoniously, to me at least. I would have kept her alive. That's just me personally. And then you have other supporting characters in this movie who I thought were okay. You have Keith David, who plays a Muslim preacher named Iman. I liked his character in this movie. He is kind of like the spiritual guide in a way. So I actually liked Keith David in this movie. Good performance. And the other actors I thought they did fill out their roles pretty well as well. Some of the supporting cast, their characters are not really all that memorable, with the exception of maybe a few others named Jack, who was a girl imitating a boy, and the character of Paris, who was like an antique dealer, who I actually thought gave a nice, dry comedic performance in a lot of areas. And then you have this Australian couple who are there also, but they get killed off. But they're not really all that memorable. Like, some of the supporting characters are memorable, some of them are not really all that memorable. It's kind of a mixed bag. But my favorites are Riddick, Johns, Fry, Jack, Paris, and Iman. Those are my favorite characters. And then you have Iman has like his three followers who get picked off one by one. With the last one, I think who should have survived this movie because like 2 minutes before he gets killed off, he suffers a leg injury and then he's popped off. I would have fixed that. In terms of this movie's special effects, by 2000 standards, this is a good looking movie. From a practical effects standpoint, it looks fantastic. The early CGI doesn't look all that great when you watch it now, but luckily this movie, a majority of the CGI is done during the night, so it kind of blends in. But there are moments where it does look really, really bad. And that's not to the fault of the filmmakers. That's pretty much, this movie's made on a low budget, so you get what you get. But at least, they tried to make it look as good as they can, and it didn't overly rely on the CGI, which is what I can appreciate. This movie relied mostly on practical effects, green screen effects, in order to create the landscape of this deserted planet, which looks absolutely just foreboding and beautiful all at the same time. I like the cinematography. I think it looks really, really strong. David Towie's direction is very, very solid. And the writing by Jim and Ken Wheat, who are famous for doing Predator and the Nightmare on Elm Street 4 movie, I thought did an overall good job with the story as well. I mean, like I said, Pitch Black can be very derivative of movies like Alien and Predator, but at least it tries to tell its own story, and I do think it's overall very, very solid. It's got good action sequences. It does a good job at slow burning and building up to the eventual reveal of the creatures, and when it does, the movie is just non-stop from start to finish. So yeah, with all that being said, I'm going to give Pitch Black a solid 8 out of 10. I like this movie. I enjoyed it a lot, and I recommend it if you haven't seen it in a long time. Very underrated sci-fi horror movie. So yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment sections down below. Like the video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.